Okay, there we are, recording in process. We are on page 674 in the Chabad, in the Gutnik Chumash, and it is Parsha Shemini, chapter 9, verse Aleph. And of course, this really, the Yom HaShemini is quite a very dramatic Sedra compared to, let's say, Vayikra and Tzav, which basically just talking about sacrifices and the different sacrifices, voluntary sacrifices, obligatory sacrifices, and then a lot of the sacrifices in Parshas Tzav were to do with what we call the Miluyim, the 7 days of what we call the consecration of the tabernacle. And here in Parshas Shemini, we have a very exciting situation where the Shekhinah comes down, the fire comes down from heaven and burns the sacrifices. And then 5 minutes later, the Shekhinah comes down again, a fire comes down from heaven and burns up the sons of Aaron, not of Anavihu, in a most, well, one can only say, I don't like to use these sort of terms, but, sometimes you could say it in a crazy sort of a way, that these people literally died on the spot, which we will get to later. And so it went from one extreme to another in a way. And so this Yom HaShemini really represented a very, very special day. Now, of course, a question you could ask, we always ask a question, if you like, on the title, what Shemini? Now, Shemini translates as what? Eighth, the 8th day, right? Famous band called the 8th Day. Very, what is the 8th day? Now, obviously, the 8th day implies the 8th of something. The 8th of something. The 8th day of what? Yeah. That's the question here. And the problem is, to make it sort of more complicated, is there were only 7 days. It says there were only 7 days of what we call this consecration, the Miluyim. There were only supposed to be 7 days. So you can't, you don't talk about, you talk about 7 days of the week, don't you? Yeah. Anybody who says the 8th day of the week, there's something wrong with them. You understand, there's only 7 days of the week. So in a sense, we've got a similar problem. There's only 7 days for the Miluyim, for this consecration. Well, if only 7 days, what do you mean by Yom HaShemini? Only the 8th day. So here we come along to the answer of the Kli Yakar, who is one of the great commentators in the Chumash. He's in all the Mikraot Gedolot, all those. He's one of the classic Mefarshim. You can always, by the way, I don't know if you know, but if you've got a Gutnik Chumash, okay, at the back of the Gutnik Chumash, you have what's called a bibliography, okay, a bibliography which tells you about all the sources, okay, in the Chumash that are brought in the Chumash, okay, and if you look, actually, you can see on one. I'm just giving an example. On page 1557, you can see at the end, yes, 1557, and you look at the bottom. If you look at the right column, at the bottom it says Kli Yakar. Can you see? Kli Yakar, and there it tells you who's the commentator on the Torah by Shlomo Ephraim Lunshitz, who passed away in 1619. So he's very old. We're talking about the 16th century, 17th century, Rosh Yeshiva in Lemberg and Rabbi of Prague. So you see in the back, all this very interesting, all the books that are brought and that are mentioned in this commentary of the Rebbe, of course, they're all on classical questions. So you can always look up if you want to know who it is. So this the Kli Yakar, okay, as he is really one of the big shots in all the commentaries. He says, look, 7 in Judaism symbolizes natural. There's a natural rhythm of 7. We know 7 days of the week, 7 weeks, 7 weeks between Pesach and Shavuos, 7 years for the sabbatical year, 7 times 7 until you have the Jubilee year. Yeah, 7 symbolizes normal, natural. 8 symbolizes supernatural. supernatural, going beyond. You see?
Beyond nature.
Beyond nature.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so in a sense, what he says is this is Hashem's number. 8 is number Hashem's number. So you've got the 7, which is the normal, and that's why it says it's B'yom Shemini, because it's Hashem's number. But in a way, that answer doesn't really actually answer the question, because in a sense it makes it more difficult to answer, because if you're saying it's Hashem's number, well then why are you calling it Shemini? Shemini again, it's in relation to the 7. Why do you have the 7? So here we come on to the Rebbe's explanation, where the Rebbe writes that the idea between is like it says very similarly in the time of Mashiach. It says that there is a kinor, there is a what's kinor, like a harp, a harp. Oh, right. The kinor, they call it a harp. Some call it a violin nowadays. I think a kinor in modern Hebrew, but possibly is kinor, but I think it means a harp.
Is that what what's her name? Sorry, who? What's her name?
Sarah.
Sarah. Yeah.
Sarah. Yes. Sarah Bas Yaakov, Bas Dina. She played the harp. We said that the harp in the Beit HaMikdash, they played a harp. They played a harp, and it had 7 strings. 7. And it says, but in the time of Mashiach, it will have 8.
Okay.
Mashiach will have 8 strings. Oh, that number 8 is coming back again. So because 8 symbolizes something totally supernatural. But the interesting thing is that although it symbolizes something supernatural and coming from Hashem, something greater than, you see, you still have to have the 7 beforehand. In order to get to Mashiach, we've been working for thousands of years and serving Hashem and trying and helping and trying and working, and we're gradually building, and we want Mashiach to come now already, because the Rebbe said it's already done. So Mashiach should come already, right? Amen. You can say Amen. And so we did. So in order to get to something really, really great, which is God's thing, which is like Mashiach, that whole idea, you still have to have the process beforehand. Okay, it's like I say, in a sense, it's like if you want to win the lottery, you can't just daven Hashem that you win the lottery. There's one thing you have to do to win the lottery: buy a ticket. Exactly. Some people they pray, they win the lottery, but they forget to buy a ticket.
They say not tickets, 1 ticket.
Sorry?
You should buy 1 ticket.
Why?
Have betochen.
Have betochen. Yeah. Okay. All right. I have another idea about the lottery. I said, people say, you know what they say? They say, you know what? He says, if I win the lottery, I'm going to give 10% to charity or 20% to charity. Oh, I'm sorry. Round of applause. Do it the other way around. Do it the other way around. If you win the lottery, promise to give 90% to tzedakah. 90%. Then what? If you win 10 million, okay, you give 90%, so 9 million go, and you get to keep 1 million. Now that's more of an incentive, isn't it? From above.
Oh, okay.
You understand? From Hashem to say, I like that. 9 million for tzedakah. I like that. I'm going to, yeah? But people don't do that.
I think more like 50.
I've actually told, it's funny, you'll say 50-50. Yeah, because people say, why would I do that? Why should I do that? And they say, well, why should you win? Who says you should win? So I say, you know what? Give the 90% tzedakah, then you win anyway, because when you give, you get back anyway. Anyway, but we digress. Sorry. So you have to buy the ticket first. Now you buy a ticket, you get what if you win? Whoa, it's totally disproportionate. You only spent £1 or £2 or £5 for 5 tickets, and you win 1 million or 10 million or 100 million. It's totally disproportionate. But you have to have that work beforehand, right? So the same thing here. In order for the Shekhinah to come down on the day, on that day, the 8th day, which is the day, you first had to do that 7 beforehand. The 7 days of the sacrifice. And what they did was they actually erected the Mishkan every single day to do the korbanos. And then at the end of the day, they took it down again. Every day. The whole reason why they did that. And
weren't they moving?
No. This is before they started moving.
No.
Before. They're in Mount Sinai.
All right.
Just to give you no, just give you a sort of chronological context here. When did they start building the Mishkan? When would they start told about the Mishkan? Was the day after Yom Kippur. Moshe came down the mountain. He said, okay, Hashem, forgive you for the golden calf, and we're going to build a Mishkan. That will be a dwelling place for Hashem, the Shekhinah. So they started building the Mishkan at the end of after Sukkot, presumably after Sukkot, they started practically building it. If they had Sukkot at that time, and there's hardly that first year, it's not sure, actually. That's an interesting point. But they started building in Tishri. And when did they finish? Well, this is now. Yom Shemini is the first of Nisan. The first of Nisan. Okay, this is when the Shekhinah came down. The Rosh Chodesh Nisan, which we're celebrating next week, next Friday, Rosh Chodesh Nisan, it has 10 crowns to it. First, there's a whole discussion, all the 10 crowns. First day, Sunday, the day of creation, the Shekhinah came down, the first of the Messiah, offering up korbanos. It was an unbelievable day. So you first had to have the korbanos were being offered up. So okay, first of Nisan, it was actually erected in a more permanent way, but not every day. Why did they do it every day and take it down every day? So the Mefarshim explain is because really there was the command to put it up was Moshe's command to put it up, which we read about in Parshas Pekudei. Moshe, they brought it to him, they dropped him, they said, now it's your job, because it says from this day, they had to put it up. And that's when the extra special sacrifices were brought, and that's when the Shekhinah came down. But beforehand, the week before, Hashem said there were certain korbanos to bring. And it said they had to bring the sacrifices Pesach Ohel Moed in the front of the Ohel Moed. But the problem is there was no Pesach, there was no Ohel Moed, there was no Mishkan. Hashem did not say to build the Mishkan. So Moshe figured, if I have to bring them to the entrance of the Mishkan, I have to have a Mishkan. Yeah. But Hashem didn't tell me to build the Mishkan. So, okay, I'm going to put it up. We'll do the korbanos, and then we'll take it down again. Oh. Yes? And that's what they did. Okay, we did it with all the Klal Yisrael. They all helped. Yes? They all helped. I don't know if they brought out the cranes, the bulldozers, whatever they had to lift the stuff up. But everybody helped. But then on the 8th day, it was done that was then became more permanent until, of course, they moved and they went on their travels. Then they were directed and dismantled according to travel. Sometimes it would be one day, sometimes it would be a week or month, a year. It could be years. One place they spent, I think, Kadesh, they spent, I think, 19 years in one place in the 40 years in the desert. Yeah, they went all over the place all the time. They stayed in certain places, sometimes for a very long time. Anyway, so all I'm trying to say is that in order to get to this incredible revelation of the 8th day, we needed the steady progress of the 7 before. And you couldn't get there without it. You can't get there without it. That's why it's called Yom Shemini. We need that preparation, just like we need the preparation before Mashiach. Yeah. You need the preparation. That's why it's called Yom Shemini. It's because it's on the back of the work that was done even beforehand. Nothing comes above just like that, without any effort at all. Oh, well, maybe it does occasionally come, very, very rarely. Yes, sometimes there is a gift from above, but that's not the usual. You usually have to do something. Okay, right. So this is what the Yom Shemini was. Now, we see this as, of course, this fantastic godly revelation that we mentioned about. Okay, and of course, we know that who is. Let's just look a little bit further in the verse. Look at verse 7, where it says, "Vayom shel Aaron, karav el mizbeach, come close to the mizbeach, va'aseh chatoscho, do your sin offering, v'esavzecha, and your oila, and atone for yourself and for the people." See, Aaron himself needed atonement. Why did he need atonement? From the golden calf, because he had been involved in the golden calf, albeit
Although he was just trying to stall.
Although he was trying to stall, of course, he didn't have
hands-on.
It wasn't a totally negative situation, but
And
he
so
was.
why would he talk?
Why did he need atonement?
Yeah.
Because he was still involved. It wasn't that he was involved in an active way, but because he's such a great person,
His judge.
even because it looked like, in a sense, it looked like he was being involved with it. But you're right, it actually, he didn't, all he was doing was try to avoid, and his intention was totally pure. But the problem is his position of leadership, and it could be misinterpreted. Exactly, misinterpreted that he was actually really involved, which he wasn't, and therefore he needed some kind of an atonement.
But he didn't outright tell the people, stop, this is wrong. You know?
Well, we did discuss that quite at length. You know, when we did Kisisa, the golden calf, originally the Jewish people were not into having a golden calf. They were looking at an intermediary that was just trying to calm them down. They needed an intermediary between Hashem and themselves. And the golden calf was just seen as an intermediary to replace Moshe. Moshe was the intermediary. Right? So originally, that's what they wanted. It developed, unfortunately, later on to idol worship. But the other thing is, actually, Aaron knew they'd already killed his nephew, I think, Hur. Okay, one of his nephews. They'd already stoned him and killed him because he protested and said stop. And if he felt that if he's going to come out and say stop, it's going to cause, they're going to kill him. And he felt that would be the worst crime, to kill the high priest. And therefore, he didn't come out and tell them, you know, definitely stop, because he was trying to prevent their own destruction. Yeah.
What for did they kill the nephew?
Because he told them not to do it. He protested. You can't do this, golden calf. He told them off.
And then he got.
And they killed him. Well, that's what happens, unfortunately. The prophets in Judaism are not very, they're not usually very popular. They don't have a popular message. So we have prophets who were killed by the people. Zechariah was one of them. They tried to kill Yirmiyahu. They try and kill him because it's not, you know, who wants to have a guy who's constantly, you know, predicting your downfall and he's telling you off, and he's a total party pooper, you know, he's just, you don't want a guy like that around. So, you know, if you've decided to have a good time, just get rid of it.
Wow.
Yeah, unfortunately. Unfortunately,
Doesn't pay to be a prophet, does it?
this is what happened. Yeah, so there are some, you know, I mean, we've moved on a bit, but, you know, prophets of doom are not very popular people. And people, and when you rebuke, not just prophets of doom, but people, when you're rebuked by prophets, people don't like it. And they'll try and kill you. They want to silence you. So unfortunately, Hur was killed. And Aaron realized that this could be a curtain to him too if he doesn't somehow go along with it. So he looked like he was going along with it. He wasn't going along with it. He was deflecting it, delaying it, slowing it, in the hope that Moshe would come down in the middle, which he did.
So a prophet can't prophesize about them themselves, that someone's after them, or that they're in jeopardy somehow?
How does it relate?
Oh,
What are you saying?
Wondering. You're saying that they're not so popular because, you know, people seek revenge. I'm just wondering if they're prophets, like, don't they have enough coded?
Yeah, but it's not just about predicting negativity. It's also about giving Musa, rebuking the people.
Right, okay.
You see, that obviously the dire predictions you can either believe or you don't believe. Yeah, and people sometimes just don't believe them. So a prediction, you could say, oh, he's a crackpot. Who says he's right? But when a person's coming out openly, day after day, and rebuking you and telling you how wrong you are, how bad you are, how naughty you are, that starts to get very, how should we say, uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And people don't like that. People don't like that. So they want to get rid of it. Try to get rid of the prophet. Right? They kill the messenger. They're not. They don't. The message. They kill the messenger. The message is coming from Hashem.
Right.
So instead of listening to Hashem, They kill the messenger. They don't like the message. They kill the messenger. That's the irony. It's stupid.
Yeah.
Of course it's stupid. But this is what stupid people do. This is what wicked people do. It's yeah. Anyway, so now Moshe was telling Aaron, you know what, I mean, I've done a lot of stuff till now. We've done all this korbanos, for the last week, and we're doing. But today, your korbanos, your special korbanos, are going to bring down the skin. And the question was, at one point actually there was a delay. Nothing was happening. But why Aaron? Why was Aaron the one chosen? I mean, it's ironic. And at one point, when there was this delay, he was very upset, actually. Aaron was upset and he thought, Hashem really hasn't forgiven me. He hasn't forgiven the Jewish people. And that's why the Shekhinah didn't come down. And Moshe Rabbeinu said, no. It's dafku through you, the korban. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And it did happen. There was a bit of a delay and it happened. And you just ask, why not Moshe? Why couldn't it happen through Moshe? Why did it have to dafka happen through him? Well, first of all, you could say, one simple thing you could say as well, Aaron sort of caused a bit of a mess up. So Aaron's involved in fixing. Yes? It's like, you made the mess, you clean it up. So in a sense, you could look at it that way. That's a bit, that's a bit, very, very exactly. A bit shut, a bit simple. But then you have a deeper level that Aaron was, when in a chasna, yes, in a chasna, in a marriage, you have what we call unterferen. In Yiddish we have unterferen.
Escort.
It's called shushvinen. Yes, escort. Shushvinen. I don't know what they call them in Francais. But
Un genre de témoin.
they hold the chassan, they bring him to the chuppah, and they bring the kala. Yes, it's called in Yiddish. It's called interferen. Unterferen. That's what they say sometimes. The in-laws, instead of being unterferen, they sometimes interfere. That's what they sometimes say. So it says that Moshe, so to speak, was the unterferen, the escort of Hashem, and Aaron was like the escort of the Jewish people of Klal Yisrael. You see, so that's why, in a sense, him bringing bringing the people close. Oh, now we have Hashem coming from Moshe, the Jewish people close. Now there's sometimes you ever seen those experiments, electric experience, right? Electric, So you've got a big ball, yes, a big silver ball, which is usually they have this electricity, static electricity, and then the guy he's got a rod, some kind of a rod, electric rod, and he brings it close, and once it gets close, what do you see? What do you see? A spark, yeah. You see a spark, and sometimes you can see sparks, a whole line going in between the two, right? Because once they come close, then you've got the electricity. This is exactly what happened. Aaron was the idea of bringing the Jewish people close to Hashem. Once the Jewish people get close enough, then the Shekhinah comes down. And we have the fire comes down and offers up and licks up the sacrifices. Okay, so this was, of course, very, very exciting. And if you read, if we go on and we say all the way till over the page 24, verse 24, the fire came down from Hashem, and it consumed. It's interesting. I hadn't noticed this before, because it says it consumed on the mizbeach is the oil of the sacrifices and the fats, and everybody saw it, and everybody screamed, shrieked, it's his day, they sang praises. According to Rashi, they sang praises. I don't know what they sang, but some kind of a spontaneous shrieking or singing or who knows what. Yeah, you can imagine when a whole crowd sees something. So if something happens negative, when the Twin Towers fell, people, everybody screaming and just watching. Anybody saw it, screaming, in terror. Yes, and anguish, right? When you see something amazing, see something in nature. Oh, like for example, people see volcanoes, or they see, icebergs and ice dropping into the sea. People cry out. How much more so you see the skin come down and cry out. But I hadn't noticed it before. It says Alam Mizbeach. But Toichel, you see, I would have thought if you would just say Vatoichel, and it consumed, forget the word Alam Mizbeach, Es ha'oila v'zachalavim. The fats, the oil, I mean, obviously it was on the Mizbeach. Surely it was on the Mizbeach because he was already told to put these things on the Mizbeach and to offer them up and do everything he did. So I just kind of wondering what this word Alam Mizbeach, this is just a personal wonder here, why Alam Mizbeach, what is there must be some kind of a lesson there, but Rashi doesn't say anything, which means it's so obvious. There's nothing to talk about. It's not really a problem. So, but if anybody has an idea, please let me know. Okay, so this was amazing. And then, of course, right after this, we see the next thing, which, of course, was the exact opposite, apparently, of a tragedy. Chapter 10, verse 1. So the sons of Aaron took each took their fire pan, but they put ketores, they put some ketores, incense on them, and they brought it to Hashem. Now, exactly where they were bringing it, a little bit hard to understand where exactly, but wherever they were doing it, it says it was Eish Zara, a strange fire. How does he translate Zara? Extraneous, Zara, extraneous. Yeah. So if you look at the bottom, you've got a little note here. Can you see that right in very small letters at the English?
Strange or alien.
The Hebrew word Zara literally means strange or alien. Exactly. Since at the literal level this fire was not prohibited, right? We have translated extraneous, which has a less negative connotation. Extraneous is rather than Latin extraneous, which means etymologically being strange. Now, okay, so Zara means strange. Asher lo tzivosam. However, here comes even complete. Asher lo tzivosam, which he did not command. And what happened? But Teitze Eishman of Hashem, a fire came down. But Toichel and it ate and it consumed them. As Mrs. Overlander said before, it didn't literally burn them up, their bodies. Their bodies were afloat. It just when it says the fire went into their nostrils, and took to neshama, and then left with their bodies completely intact. And they died before Hashem. And finally, the verse says, Moshe says to Aaron, "Who Hashem dibur Hashem?" This is what Hashem said. He said to him, like it's a way of trying to calm him down and comfort him, because he literally just saw his two kids die on the spot. B'kroivai ekadesh, from those who are close to me, Hashem says in a very previous verse, I will become holy. And in front of the whole people, I will be honored by you. So in other words, Moshe was trying to say that these were great people, actually. Great people. And Moshe, there's a whole Rashi over here, explains how Moshe was trying to tell Aaron that Moshe thought that somebody was going to die in the process of sanctifying the holy Mishkan. He had a prophetic vision. Somebody's going to die. He told Aaron, he said, I thought it was going to be either me or you. Because we are the top spiritual leaders. And so one of us is going to, that's what he thought. He says, but now it happened to your sons. And you know what? Now I see your sons are greater than you and me.
Oh, well,
that was an amazing compliment. By Yidam Aaron, but Aaron said nothing. He said nothing. He didn't say anything, which is considered an amazing thing. He didn't make any complaint. He didn't make any protest. He said nothing. He just shtum. And that, it says, as a result of that, actually, it says soon after that, Hashem rewarded him by having a special one-on-one with him, with Aaron. Normally it was one-on-one with Moshe, right? But in the next Parsha, it says that Hashem was one-on-one with Aaron, which is a reward for having said nothing.
Okay? Right, because in Parshas, the last sentence, it speaks about like Aaron. It was like completely Kabbalah soul,
Yes.
And that's not everything. And when you see,
but the sons as well. The sons as well.
No, I understand, but then you have these two.
Yeah.
That kind of made their own rule.
Okay, so now we're going to discuss this. Let's try and discuss this. Now we have another great commentator we're going to discuss. He's called the Or HaChaim HaKodesh, right? He's also in the back. You'll find him also in the back. Okay? He was Reb Chaim ben Attar, I believe, Ibn Attar, famous Sephardi commentator who lived, I think, in the Or HaChaim, 1696, 1743, same time as the Baal Shem Tov. Okay, and he's a great Kabbalistic scholar, and he wrote this commentary called Or HaChaim, and he writes that Nadav and Avihu, how did they die? They had a spontaneous desire and yearning to be close to Hashem. They didn't really do anything wrong. It was just a yearning to be close to Hashem. And as a result of that, they're wanting to be close to Hashem. They got what they wanted. They got what they wanted. They wanted to be,
Watch what you ask for, that's what they say, right?
Well, exactly. Watch what you pray for. Exactly. They wanted to be so close to Hashem. Of course, Hashem, perhaps they had not yet absorbed the fact that Hashem wants us to be down in this world. Because Hashem's not looking for human sacrifice as such. If a person wants to sacrifice, not to sacrifice our lives for the sake of Yiddishkeit, Judaism, in other words, in this world, but he doesn't desire that sort of human sacrifice. Okay, if Hashem takes from his own initiative, that's one thing. He's not looking for us to offer it. Okay, he's not looking for us to offer it. So occasionally, a person may need to have self-sacrifice, to give up their life. There is a mitzvah in the Torah, but it's not something you have to volunteer for. Yeah. You understand? Yeah. And these, now they weren't even volunteering. This was a personal yearning and desire. In other words, it seems that from the original, when they saw that fire coming down and everybody was blown away, right? They were so blown away they couldn't contain themselves. They wanted to be a part of this godly revelation. So they spontaneously did what they did. And I don't know if they knew what was coming. I don't know if they had any idea what was coming. But the fact is, this is what the Or HaChaim said. They were great, they were spiritual giants who had a desire and a yearning to be close to Hashem. Now, of course, we have to try and understand what that means, you see. Let's try and understand a little bit what that means. You see, let's understand, what did they take? They took the incense. Now, what had happened before? We had the korbanos, the sacrifices. Now, there's a difference between sacrifices and incense. Hasidic philosophy explains korbanos comes from the Hebrew word karov, close, to be close. Yes, korban, karov, close, right? Now, we are close here, we're sitting on the same table, we're close here, right? But then there's something that's even deeper. Now this, by the way, the sacrifice were offered up on the external altar. There was two altars, one outside and one inside the Eichel, the palace, the Mishkan. The Ketores, what is Ketores? Incense. Now that comes from the Hebrew word katar, which is connected with the word kesher. Kesher means a total connection, unity, a blending. It says a blending. With the ketores, so there's a closeness that comes from the sacrifices. Then there's a total and utter unity that comes from the ketores, the incense, which is offered on the inner altar, not on the outer altar. Okay, so in a sense, what there's a positive aspect of the Ketores, which symbolizes the blessing of coming so close to Hashem that you become one with Hashem. And this was, in a sense, this was the highest level for them. They wanted, in other words, the Beis HaMikdash, the Mishkan, had the idea of korbanos with through Aaron. That was a certain level of closeness. The fire came down and ate the sacrifices. But now the sons of Aaron wanted to get even closer. They are more close to Hashem. They brought Torah, but they did it in a way they didn't realize what was happening, perhaps. And it was sometimes, when you play around with electricity, you were talking about electricity before, static electricity, you get a shock.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And if you play around too much, a person could get such a shock that they die. Yeah. Right? Because they mistakes, right? Things can happen. Electricians are a very dangerous profession. Yeah. Okay? And electricians sometimes die because
a loose wire.
Exactly. Something wrong. Exactly. And they haven't put the right circuit in, and it can short circuit. So this is what happened. But this created an incredible closeness with Hashem into the Mishkan. So that was their greatness. The only thing you might want to now ask is, but how does that fit with the verse? The verse says, Eish Zara Asher Lo Tzivo. He did not command them.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't sound positive, does it? It sounds negative. He did not command them to do it. It was extraneous. So here Chassidus comes to turn it on its head. Beautiful idea. When we do what Hashem wants us to do, there's two different ways that we could do it. We have lots of mitzvahs. And the mitzvahs, when we come close to Hashem, this is what education is about. What do? We want to do. We have to do this. Have to keep Shabbos, Kasher, Zuzah, this, every mitzvah, tefillin, lulav, we've got to do all. So what are you doing? You're close to Hashem. You're doing what Hashem wants you to do. Very nice. Very good. You do this. You don't do that. But then you know what? There's another closeness. When you're so close with the person, you don't even need to be told what to do. Because you know what they want. You know what they want. Husband and wife, for example. Yes? The husband and wife, or a child and a parent. Yes? If they're really in cahoots with the parent, or husband and wife, right? They know what the other person wants, what the other person likes. And they just do it. Without it, they don't even need to be told. They don't even need to be told. That is an incredible level of closeness. This is the idea of the Eish Zara. It's strange. In other words, and this was like unusual, strange, like amazingly strange. Asher Lo Tzivo. They had gotten to a level where their closeness with God was that they were doing stuff that they didn't even need to be commanded to do. It was automatically, like we say by the obvious, the forefathers. Did the forefathers, were they told to keep the Torah? No. They weren't given any commandments apart from Milah. Okay, circumcision. Everyone's given circumcision, right? But the Torah was not given to them. But they kept all of the Torah before it was given. How did they keep the Torah before it was given? Because they were so connected with Hashem, they didn't need to be commanded. They were doing it anyway.
So this would be considered like a Kiddush Hashem.
Yes, in a way it was exactly a Kiddush Hashem.
I'm thinking it probably cannot be written in the plain text because then people would be.
They might follow that.
Like commit suicide.
Yes. You're right. You're right. This is a one-off. Okay, it was a one-off, right? See, don't try that again. You get burnt. The kid gets burnt when they touch they don't know that it hurts until they stick their finger in it. But they just want, it's blue, it's nice color, want to feel warm. Oops, yes. So, but that idea of coming close to Hashem and doing, that's the Lo Tzivo. Asher Lo Tzivo. They'd gotten to the point where they didn't need to be commanded. You understand? It's a little play on the words.
Yeah.
You read the words differently.
Yeah.
Yes? Not that he didn't command them. They had gotten to the point where they didn't need to be commanded. So they had become so holy and so spiritual that their desire to be close to God is just automatic, right? And that, so that is the positive aspect. Obviously, that wasn't necessarily, as you rightly point out, is not something that everybody was supposed to. There's an expression that says, they will see and they should follow. No, we don't want people to follow that advice.
We're supposed to make a dwelling place for Hashem below.
Exactly.
Not like.
However, the lesson is a valid lesson, that you can come to a point in this mission of the making a dwelling place Hashem. There's two ways of looking at it. Either you can do it in a, all right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, don't do this, don't do that, do this, right? Or you can do it in a way that there's no resistance.
No.
There's no resistance. It's funny, we talk about resistance in electricity.
Yeah.
If there's no resistance, it's called a conductor. When there's no resistance, conductors conducts electricity. There was absolutely no resistance, so they conducted the godly electricity. That's what happened. Yeah. So, but us, of course, we're not on that level, and we're not. The idea that we should aspire to tzaddikim do this, basically. Tzaddikim they are automatically, in a sense, geared. They're totally in sync with Hashem. Yeah. And it's not they have to, I'm going to do this mitzvah and I'm going to bring Hashem down into this world by doing this mitzvah. Make a conscious thing, do a mitzvah, force yourself, do this, force yourself, do that. But in every second of the day is designed to figure out how Hashem's going to be down in this world, right? But not by giving up the life in this world, not by expiring. So it's a balance. It's fine-tuning in Judaism. Fine-tuning. To be on such a level where you're totally in sync with Hashem. The problem from a tzaddik's point of view, the problem with that is it is tempting to just let yourself completely go and be connected to Hashem completely forever.
That's why you hear like some tzaddikim, they hold on to something
physical.
So they
absolutely. And I was just thinking that, we thought we live in the space age now. We live in the space age. Now, we know that tzaddikim, who else? Tzaddikim, they are, we're like chickens walking around on the ground. Tzaddikim are flying. They're flying. Well, actually not tzaddikim. The people are flying. Tzaddikim are flying, but you have really, really, really big tzaddikim. They're not just flying. They're in space. They are orbiting the world, right? They have a whole view of the world. They're not just flying 30,000 feet. That's other tzaddikim maybe, yeah? But these people are literally, they are miles above the earth and they're orbiting the earth with very fast speed, right? Now, you've got to be very careful when you're up there, because if you go a little bit too fast, what happens? And you change slight direction. You go a little bit too fast. To stay in orbit, it's very interesting. You have to have an exact speed which matches the speed of your falling to the earth with a round. It's all mathematical. They figure it all out. 25, depending how high you're up, that's how far you'll fall. You have to be 25,000 miles an hour, something like that, right? But if you go too fast, what happens? You know what happens? You go out into space. You're going to, that's it. Well, it's not even a black hole. You're just gone. You're just gone. If you go out into space, how are you going to come back? You know what I'm saying? So that's the danger. Even with a tzaddik. Now, the tzaddik knows that. Do you understand? The true tzaddikim know that. So they keep themselves grounded, like you say. Right? When the Alter Rebbe, there was a situation with the Alter Rebbe, apparently, Rabbi the founder of Chabad, he was also incredibly godly, spiritual person. And from time to time, they say when he was in prison, he was so inspired by the fact that he was making such a Kiddush Hashem by being in prison on trumped up crazy charges. But he knew it would lead to a tremendous Kiddush Hashem. that he got so inspired at one point to the point of wanting to expire. I think it was that occasion that there was a chassid who was there, and at that point he sort of pushed a bagel into his hand, a bagel, piece of bread, which kind of jolted him, grounded him from his great spiritual thinkers. So, it is for holy, very spiritual people. They can do that. They have the ability to do that. Anyway, so so these are some of the lessons of the passing of Aaron. Of Aaron's sons. Yeah. Now, just one more point on this. Okay, so if you look a little bit further, here on page 682. Okay, page 682, which is just after after they buried the children. It says a very interesting thing about wine and alcohol you should not drink when you're coming to the Ohel Moed, when you're coming to the Ohel Moed, to the Mishkan. You'll die. This is, and from here, some of the sages learn that another view, they had drunk wine.
Yeah.
Have you heard of this?
Yeah.
They had drunk wine before they came. Yeah. And that's why I said they were deserving of the death penalty.
Oh, okay. Was
Okay.
it literal?
That's exactly what we're going to discuss now. That's exactly what I'm going to discuss now. Because, as we said, what are we saying here? These people just went in, these great tzaddikim went in like, hello, boys, let's go, drunk. I mean, can't say that. So the Rebbe says a beautiful thing. This is actually a metaphor, a mashal. It's a metaphor. Wine. I mean, it's not when tzaddikim, they drink wine. Yes, okay, if they drank wine, they drank wine, but they weren't drinking. They would drink wine for a very special reason. When tzaddikim drink wine, they used to drink wine at a Verbrenner during the week. Pour some wine, and it's a bread often. You drink some wine, right? Why? When tzaddikim drink wine, wine is symbolism of the secrets of the Torah. The secrets, the very highest levels of secrets of the Torah. So when a tzaddik drinks, he's drinking to open his mind also to the secrets of the Torah. And wine symbolizes chokhmah, the wisdom, which is the highest level of the Torah. So it's symbolic here that when they were, what happened was that somehow or other they became aware of these great, they were studying or they were meditating on the greatness of Hashem and the secrets of the Torah, which is the idea of the wine. And that's why, in a sense, they came to this problem. But here's a very interesting point. If you look at the verse, okay, look at Rashi, what it says on verse 9. Yain v'sheichar al teisht. Right now, he says, Yain v'sheichar. Yain derech shechrusa. Derech shechrusa means to get drunk. Meaning, even if you're doing something in a spiritual way, you may be drinking wine, not because you're going to get drunk, as such simple, but you want to get drunk spiritually. Okay. But you see, you don't get drunk spiritually for your own pleasure. That's the problem. If you get drunk spiritually, you shouldn't involve yourself in your own, because then you can forget where you are. Do you remember I said about speed and orbit? Now, if a person is so excited by the high speed and being up in orbit, wow, you know what? I'm going to go a bit faster. I'm really enjoying this. This is so exciting. Before you know it, you've gone out of orbit. You're off, finished, goodbye. Why? Because you're not focusing. You're just focusing on the thrill of the speed and the excitement of being in orbit. Yeah? So in a sense, this is a spiritual metaphor for the same thing. spiritually speaking, it says there were 4 people that went into Pardes. Arba Nichnasu Pardes. 4 great sages in the Talmud went into every aspect of the Talmud, every aspect of the Torah, including the highest mystics, the highest mystical part, and including Rabbi Akiva, Ben Azai, Ben Zoma, and Elisha ben Abuya. Those 4. Okay, of those 4, Elisha ben Abuya became a total nutcase. He became an atheist. He became a heretic.
Yeah.
Ben Azai lost his mind. Okay, he got okay. Ben Zoma just died. Okay, the only one who survived was Rabbi Akiva. Well, it says Nichnas v'Sholem, Yotza v'Sholem. Now, what the Rebbe says? Why Nichnas v'Sholem, Yotza v'Sholem? It says because when he went in, he knew he was going to come out. He wasn't just going in to enjoy, to have fun, to be inspired. His whole purpose of Una was to come out, and that's why he Nichnas v'Sholem, Yotza v'Sholem. The others didn't. They were just like, "Whoa, give it to me. Let me see it. I want to enjoy it." Yeah. So the same thing in a sense was not Vanavihu. They were telling us that again, there's a spiritual. You don't get carried away in your own spiritual greatness. Don't get carried away in your own greatness and your own spiritual enjoyment, because that could be dangerous. Yeah. Derech shechrusa. That was the lesson. So it's a whole symbolism. It's a very
that's why
deep.
we have to go through earth to not to be.
That's right. And once a year we can drink l'chaim. It's the famous story in the Talmud. We told the story before. Very similar. We had a story in Talmud that nobody understands. The story is crazy. It says there was a great rabbi called Rabbi, and he had a student called Rav Zera. Now Rabbi means great. Rabbi. Zera means small. Okay. And it says that he said, "Come on, let's have a Sudas Purim together." This is what Talmud says. They came ahead of Sudas Purim. And it says that Rabbi slaughtered Rab Zera.
Oh.
Yeah. That's what Gemara says. Yeah, exactly. That's everybody does. Excuse me? And then it said, no, listen to the story. Then it says the Rabbi resurrected Rab Zera. He brought him back to life. And then next year, he sent him on just before Purim. He sent him a WhatsApp. They had WhatsApp then. He said, he says, "Come, let's get together for Purim again." So I'm just thank you, thank you. I'll be in touch. I'll let you know. Don't call me. I'll call you. He says, "I'm not relying on a miracle. This is your story." So nobody knows what's going on. Everybody struggles with the story. How could it be? Someone will say that's why you're not really supposed to get too drunk on Purim, because even Rabbi could just kill somebody. Which is strange.
But
kill somebody.
When he kills somebody, he brought them back to life.
But how can he kill him? I'm going to the answer very quickly. Rabbi said, the Rebbe says, it doesn't really kill him. He gave him so much teachings of Torah, the secrets, the inspiration, that the Rab Zera, he couldn't handle it. So his soul, Parshas, went up above. He couldn't handle it. He's called Rab Zera. Small, he couldn't handle it, blew him away, so he died. He didn't kill him literally, and he killed him with his spirituality. So then he resurrected him. The next year he thought, maybe Rab Zera now he can handle it. Rab Zera said, no, I'm still not there yet. I can't handle your great teaching. Okay, it's an amazing interpretation, the best one I've heard. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening, everybody, and we'll see you with Hashem next time. All the best.
Thank you.
Bye. Any questions? Okay, it's away from Mrs. Safran. All the best to you. Have a great week.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
Are you